Everybody, and welcome to day 2 of Spiritual Boss Babe. What does it mean to be a boss babe or a boss man? What does it mean to be spiritual and to be the person who creates our own reality? And this is what I want to bring to you today. So I'm just going to wait for some people to jump on. We are live streaming right now. So if you're watching the live stream, make sure you come on and say hello. And if you're watching replay, please hashtag replay. Let me know that you're here. I want to see who is placing their eyes and who is in this vortex and desiring shifting and changing and alignment. So we kind of touched base yesterday on the first day of this masterclass about money and about worthiness and how money will never equal our worthiness. Money and how much we get paid will never define us and our value because we are priceless, because we are very, very much loved, and we are here for big things. I'm just going to put my phone here on airplane mode. We're here for big things, and we're here on purpose. We are here to create a ripple effect of change throughout the world, whether we're a coach, whether we're a mum, whether we're a school teacher, whether we I don't know, clean toilets, whatever, work at McDonald's. No matter what you do doesn't define your worthiness either. We are here to create massive amounts of change in the world. And, there's a whole lot of people here. Hello, everybody. We are here to shift. And we're all here together, heart to heart, connecting with each other, making a difference. We're here to bring ourselves together, whether we're physically or whether it's remotely, to shift our blueprints, right? So we all contribute to each other. It's like going to a dinner party and you say, we're going to have hamburgers, right? So you've got a few different friends and they say, what do we bring? And you go, well, can you bring the buns? That would be absolutely great. Another person can bring the patties. Somebody else can bring the lettuce or the salad, and somebody else can bring the pudding, right? So it's like we all bring an ingredient and then we put it together and it's just such a delicious meal, right? I always go to food. I love food. We're here to help this world become more conscious. And what is happening right now, because we're going to be talking about being spiritual today, is the veil is very, very thin. And I talked yesterday about energy and rubbish flying around, and we can, if everyone was dumping their rubbish out on the road and it wasn't contained and it wasn't, put into the rubbish dump, we just dumped it out and we were just useless with how we dealt with our rubbish and our physical rubbish from our house, then the rubbish will be flying around and it's going to cling on to us. The world will be in chaos, right? So I talked about that. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about how the veil is thin. So that was energetic, but we can contain our own energy. Like I say, we can contain our own rubbish and know what to do with it, which is what I talked about yesterday. But there's a whole collective energy around. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. There's a whole collective energy around. And we are aware of that. We are energetic beings and we are aware of how there is energy and spirit everywhere. There's feelings, there's emotions, there's entities around. We, in fact, have relationships with many entities, from our car to our house to our relationships. They are all entities. Everything has a consciousness. Everything has a vibration. Like everything, right? So we can contain our energy and hold ourselves. But what if we are not able to have the awareness to notice what's happening around us and we keep getting affected by other people's energy? Someone might make us feel guilty for doing something. Someone might put their projections or their expectations, their points of views or their judgments on what they think we should do, right? So the thing about that is if you are not strong within yourself, and you're not understanding that it's somebody else's points of view, whether it's spirit, whether it's mum, or whether it's a friend, if you cannot distinguish between your energy and other, although we do have this collective as well, then you're going to get confused and you can lose your head. You can get really confused and a little bit lost. Okay, is this making sense? Being spiritual is about being able to tap into your intuition. It's about trust, and it's about channeling, right? Because we are channels, and this is what I talked about today in my mastermind. We are channels. We're always channeling, whether we're talking to our friend or our daughter or our client or the school mum. We start going, wow, that was stuff coming through me was quite profound. We're channeling ourselves, our higher selves, and we can channel beings and we can channel spirit. You know, we're allowed to be a spiritual being. And this is what being a spiritual boss babe is about. Being a spiritual being. And that's why yesterday, in day one, we talked about the human, the worthiness and money and the value and energy in holding yourself. Not losing your head to ego. Not trying to be 5D and then trying to look at everybody else who's 3D and go, oh, you guys aren't doing good enough, it's better up here. That's straight up ego. We are here to be healthy. We're here to be wealthy. We're here to be in love and expansive and joyful. We're here to be human. We're here to be in love, unconditional love. It comes from the heart. And today I have this rose quartz right next to me supporting. And the love of my life, he just did a heart. He's here. Hello, my love of my life, my husband, Luke. Everyone give Luke a heart. So it's time to get raw and it's time to get real. And you have to understand, before I go into the different pillars of today, that truthfully, it is your responsibility to show up in this world. It is your responsibility to show up in this world to the best of your abilities. And that isn't from what other people think the best of your abilities are. That is from your heart, and that is from your center. Your heart coherence is absolutely everything when it comes to being a spiritual boss babe. When it comes to being the CEO of your life, making money, being in love, having joy and abundance everywhere is possible for you. But if you don't know the difference between your energy and another's energy, you're going to get lost, because 99% of people don't think that they can have the love and the abundance and the joy. They don't believe they can, so they upper limit themselves. They self-sabotage themselves. They try to fit in, because humans all want connection. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm bringing in the different dualities or polarities so you can see how it works together. People want connection so badly and so deeply that they will let themselves go to dive into the containers of others. And if that means they've got to shrink themselves or drop their vibration to be loved by another, to be understood by another, they will. Because we are human beings and we don't survive without each other. We can, but at the end of the day, has anyone watched Castaway? You know, with Tom Hanks? We are meant to be here. Has anyone seen a child or experienced not having enough love as a child, and then they have problems when they get older? We're human beings. We are these beings that when we are born, we are pretty much, we need help. We need to be fed. You've got to teach a baby how to breastfeed half the time, right? You have to change their bum. You've got to keep them warm, otherwise they will die. We seem to forget that, and we start thinking that we're individuals and that we all have our own lives and it has to go this way. But then we forget we need connection, so then we unconsciously dive into other people's realities, shrink ourselves to fit in. How crazy is that? And this is all, of course, unconsciously, because no one said, hey, I want to be abused. Can you hit me? No one ever turned around and said, hey, I want a friend and I will drop my vibration and I will allow you to make me feel guilty for all of your shit. Sounds like fun. No one does that consciously. So if you're kind of having flashbacks of your own kind of self here, give yourself a break. Like, everyone's done it, right? Even my husband and I, we used to like fight. It was ego against ego. And then we watched the book, we read the book, Power of Now and A New Earth, and we learned about the pain body. And we learned about the ego. And we used to do this thing before we had children, and we would stand there and would go, ego check. Because we'd be starting, we didn't fight a lot, but we'd be kind of like going backwards and forwards, and we'd go, ego check. And then we'd check ourselves and we'd go, yeah, because ego, it can't fight when there's no ego, right? So ego against ego is like bang, 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 bang. This is ego. Resistance. But if one person has their ego is thriving and trying to pull in the other ego because they want to feed the pain body, right? And Luke and I used to do this, and a lot of people do this. We probably still do it now. You know, people do it to a certain extent everywhere. But then there's no ego. Then there's nowhere to go. It just disintegrates or goes to find someone else to feed it. So what Luke and I would do, ego would come up, the ego would get hurt and go, I want to be right, this isn't fair. And we'd go, ego check, and then all of a sudden we'd go, and it just disappeared. You must understand other people around you. And you must understand that they're wounded too. They are perfect, but they are wounded with programming and conditioning. To be a person who invites and receives copious amounts of money, love and joy into their life, they must be able to hold themselves energetically, clean up their own rubbish, right? So then it doesn't bring all this rubbish into the collective energy, like what I said yesterday about everyone dumping their rubbish on the street and then the wind picks up. Clean up your own rubbish. And then, of course, the collective energy is a lot cleaner because everyone's doing their bit. This is what we need to do. We need to understand that everybody has their own rubbish. But somewhere we started believing that everybody else was perfect and we were the ones just full of rubbish. Because we didn't want to judge. And it's not judging if you're just being in awareness. So I invite you to have more awareness. This is real and this is raw. We've got to be honest about the responsibility that we have to be spiritual boss babes. It means you're claiming that you're spiritual, you're claiming that you're a boss, and you're claiming that you're a babe. A lot of people would be like, I'm triggered at even the heading of that. Everything is a mirror as well. Just having a quick look at these comments. Does this make sense to you guys? Being spiritual is about being real, it's about being raw, and it's about knowing what is your responsibility and what is not. We see this with parenting. People try to control their children to behave a certain way, and then they turn around and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry for my child's behavior. Oh, my kid is being naughty. Oh my God, what am I going to do about them? How am I going to discipline them? How am I going to teach them from right from wrong? Whose fucking rules are you going by? Has anyone stopped to ask their child, how would you like me to raise you? What would you like? How can I help you? Thank you so much for coming into my life and being a contribution and waking me up. What can I do for you? Does anyone talk to their kids like that? Like maybe some of you do. I do. Thank you so much for coming into my life. You saved my life. You're amazing. What can I do for you? What would you like to do? How can I contribute to you? It's kind of funny, some of the things that come out with. We're all souls having an experience. So, first part of homework, responsibility. What is your responsibility? I want you to actually put it in the comments right now if you're here on the live stream. And if you're not, just, you can do replay, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just write this down. What is my responsibility? What is your responsibility in this lifetime? What is your responsibility in this lifetime? So I want you to take your time and do that. What is your responsibility? I love Grant Cardone from 10X. He is really a big energy. And a lot of the things he says I resonate with. Some of them don't really align with me because I'm a projector. I'm not here to work, 28 hours a day type of thing. And he says it's your responsibility to take full responsibility for everything in your life. And he will say things like, if the power goes out, people will go and blame the electrical company. And so he makes sure that he is like a generator so that doesn't happen, because otherwise the business goes down. I went, whoa, well, that's pretty extreme. And I was like, that's a really good point. People complain about the petrol prices going up. People complain about milk. How many people go and get a cow so they've got their own milk and have bikes so they can bike around, or live close to the shops, or grow their own food, or grow their own, their own animals as well, their own produce. We got frickin' lazy, people. Now, I'm not saying that I've got a cow, and I'm not saying I bike everywhere. I am definitely lazy. Full disclosure, I'm so lazy. We got lazy, and we need each other, but we bitch and moan about each other, and then we drop our vibration, and we don't take any responsibility for our own behaviors. And there's something in the Bible, and I think they say, if somebody slaps you, turn the other cheek. Is that what it is? Somebody who knows Bibles, please let me know. And, this is what I've experienced recently. I got slapped in the face, and I didn't turn my cheek for them to slap me again, but I said, I'm not available for this. And I'm not going to feel guilty, but I'm going to feel love. I know how to hold myself, and I know when shit is not mine. And if you want to be a spiritual boss, baby, you've got to be willing to shine and to show up, to rip off that plaster, be raw and be real, and get ready for people not to like you. Because you are here to wake people up, to trigger them. And when you trigger somebody, they get to choose to change their perspective, or they get to keep it. And if they're going to keep their limitations and their mistaken beliefs, they might have to jump out of your vortex because you've decided to be more 5D and you're going to grow. But they also may choose to change their perspective. And one of my clients, who's absolutely awesome, I love her, she said to me, you used to trigger me so much, Victoria, that I stopped following you because I couldn't stand to see you popping up in my feed or whatever. And I was like, thanks. I'm going to take that as such a compliment. That has definitely been one of my woundings. I've always wanted people like me. And I just don't have that anymore. Because guess what happened? She decided that she actually was triggered because she noticed that she was triggered with somebody else that she absolutely loved. But she was triggered because she wanted to do what we were doing and she didn't have the balls to do it. She was hiding. So when she decided that, she jumps on the phone and she says, how do I work with you? Where do I sign up? I need to work with you in your mastermind. And that's the best compliment I ever got. And I was so grateful that she chose to show up. You are responsible for being you, and not everyone's going to like you. You're responsible for not shrinking your vibration to fit into others. And you also need to know that nobody will ever drop your vibration unless you allow them to. That is raw and that is real. I love that Amy Swan is here. Everyone give her a happy birthday. Hey, Nikki. Yeah, it's not about judging if you're in awareness. Okay, so let's have a little talk about that. People have seemed to get confused with awareness and judgment. I don't want to judge anybody. I don't want to judge anybody. Sometimes if somebody is being a bitch, they're being a bitch. Right? So if my sister was being a bitch to me, I really don't like that word, but I'm doing this for effect right now. I don't know why I don't like that word. But if someone was being a bitch to me and I said, hey, you're being a real bitch right now. Like, what are you up to? I'd probably more likely say, you're not being very kind right now. What's up? But for effect, if someone was being a bitch, sometimes they're just being a bitch. That's not necessarily a judgment. Maybe that's a straight up awareness. Like, I think Luke said to me one day, you're being a psycho, or something like that. This is a long time ago when he used the word psycho. I don't get that anymore. And I was like, am I being a psycho? Maybe I am acting like a psycho. Interesting. What if everything was an interesting point of view And what if sometimes a feather's just a feather? It's not necessarily a sign. What if a coincidence is just a coincidence? You know, what if we don't make everything into a significance? And what if we have the awareness, oh, there's a feather, because, you know, feathers are always a sign for me usually. I've actually seen none this week. That's kind of interesting. I see this feather floating down and I go, there's a feather. I have that awareness and then I go, oh, is this some type of sign for me? Have I been asking for a sign? You know, and I might be like, yes, I'm just looked after, I'm guided, thank you. Or I walk past a feather, I might just be like, there's a feather. It's just a feather. You know, awareness and judgment. Like, you've got to use your discernment. Not everything means something, but when we are functioning from awareness, when we can hold ourselves energetically and then we expand our awareness and we can notice all the people around us and where they are functioning from on a conscious level, because we can feel it, because we know that we're good, we know we're balanced, we know in alignment. You can look at someone, you can tell where they're struggling. You can tell where they require love or healing or guidance, or whether they're insecure or whether they are confident. You can just read someone so easily. But we don't. We're afraid and we've been told not to look too close. Keep your laundry, dirty laundry hidden or whatever. Like, there's all of these, like, what are they called? Wives' tales. There's all of these wives' tales that we've put into stone. Don't air your dirty laundry. I think that's what it is. Keep things behind closed doors. All of that type of stuff. So we don't want to pry. Now, being in awareness isn't prying. Judgment is when you are like, it's got a charge to it. Like, oh my God, look at her. Look at what she's wearing. Oh my God, I don't like Victoria Bond. She is annoying. That's judgment, right? An awareness. A judgment has a charge. Like the girl who jumped off, she was just like, I can't stand this. I'm going. And she realized that she was triggered, so it had something to do with her. Because judgment is always a mirror of you. And there's a trigger. If you're judging another, you're judging yourself. And that is what my client realized. Wow, I'm judging her. She's triggering me. I can choose this or change this. I'm desiring to change this. So I'm going to go work with Victoria Bond. Her life has changed. Because she chose to change. But judgment is when you are like, you don't change it. So she had the awareness of the judgment, right? So it gets kind of complicated, but I'm starting to layer it up too much. So if you are judging somebody, you are judging yourself. That is the rule. If you're in awareness that somebody is being an asshole, then you don't have a charge. You're just like, wow, that person's a bit of an asshole. That person's not great at their job. They did a shitty job at painting my house. That's like a straight up awareness. So then, but we are scared of being aware. Can you please release and eliminate all points of view that you have about being scared of being too aware? Oh, and guess what? If you go into awareness, you might see things that you don't like. Oh, and if you don't like that, then how are you going to fit into other people's realities and shrink down your vibration to fit in, to have the connection, because you've got wounding, because you don't want to be left alone and you don't want to be rejected and you want to be liked. It always comes down to the empowerment of oneself and how they can hold themselves. Does this make sense to you guys? So someone just said, my family is so judgmental. Okay, so what happens if I don't judge them for being judgmental? Right? What if, so my mum was judging me for being like I am in my job. And not that she knows much about it, but she was knowing what I was doing, even, having crystals and cards and stuff was a no-no. And I was judging her for judging me. So how could she be so this and that and all the things? She's my mum, blah, 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 blah. And I'm judging my mum, judging me. And I was like, hang on, if I'm judging her, judging me, then I'm matching that vibration. But that's not what I'm choosing here. I'm choosing to be in awareness and to be more conscious where judgment does not exist. Discernment is different. Discernment is different to judgment. So the long and the short of it is I said, It's an interesting point of view that my mum has that point of view. I love her with my heart, and I have the awareness of that judgment, and I have the awareness of where she's functioning from consciously, from a conscious standpoint, and I'm choosing to flow love, and I know who I am, coming back to the self and the holding of oneself. So now I no longer give a flying anything of what anyone thinks about me, because I know who I am, and I just know that she can't comprehend what it is I'm doing, because it's not in alignment with where she is consciously, and that is okay. And yeah, so it is what it is. People can judge me all they want, whether it's my mother, whether it is, whether it's a friend, but I don't have any friends that judge me because I choose not to. Whether it's, I can't help what the world thinks about me. But the biggest thing we need to understand as well is the world owes you absolutely nothing. Nothing. And I was talking about this on my mastermind today. The world owes you nothing. We wake up every day and goes, what is the world going to bring me? I hope I have a good day. World, you better provide. It's your responsibility. Bullshit. The world owes you nothing. You owe the world. You owe yourself, actually, to show up and make use of the resources that you have been given. And one of the things I did with my coach about a year ago is I wrote down all the resources I had in my business. And there was Canva, there was Calendly, there was Facebook, there was Instagram, there was YouTube, I had writing skills, I could speak English, I had connections because I had friends, because thank God I've got a cell phone, and oh my gosh, it's so easy on Messenger. And then I realized I could start a business because I had all the resources I needed. And guess what? It didn't have to cost me anything. I made my first $100,000 without spending any money. Without spending any money on anything. Oh, a lie. I did buy ClickFunnels, and we put my digital programs in there. But actually before I did that, I probably made $100,000 just from my workshops, just from using the platforms, by using my brain and a pen and paper to create, and inviting people to come and learn from the free resources, booking people in with Calendly. There's Canva for free. It's all free. The world is here to utterly, totally support us. And here we are sulking, going, it's too hard. I can't create an online business and no one's going to buy from me. And it's actually because I'm not worthy, and because I'm not really wanting to receive money. And the truth is, I don't want people to judge me. So what is this? What are you getting from this? What am I bringing up? This is about the time that you start getting triggered. You either go, I don't know what she's talking about, I'm out of here. Or you go, fuck, I think I may have a couple of things that is going on that are creating limitations or mistaken beliefs that I have. Let me know. How are you feeling? How are you feeling when I tell you to show up, to shine, and to be unapologetically authentic, which means you show up as you are? How do you feel? Do you feel scared? Show me like an emoji face. Petrified, excited, crazy. How do you feel when I say, I invite you to show up unapologetic, holding yourself and not giving a flying F what anyone else in the world thinks about you, because you're going to use the resources that God has given you, that you have given you, to create impact in the world. And you don't even know what you're going to do yet. I didn't know. Okay, going back to my notes here, because I do tend to go on a bit of a tangent. Talking about the responsibility. Okay, your vibration is everything. Okay, vibration is everything. Now, I told you guys yesterday on the day one of the masterclass that I had recorded a 38-minute podcast all about channeling. And then I realized that the audio was shit, right? And I was like, woe is me. Carry on, got to do the masterclass. It's all going to be amazing, da-da-da-da. Well, today I lay in bed and I was like, am I meant to do this podcast? Am I meant to do this? Am I meant to share with the world the stuff I really, really know about the the veil, about the, all the things? Am I meant to go deep? A lot of people are getting kicked off Facebook right now because they're being too honest. Shit, is everyone ready to hear it? I kept lying in bed and I said, what would the $1 million version of me do? And I was like, remember who you are. Get the fuck up out of bed and record that podcast. I took full responsibility for the shitty one yesterday because I was walking around with my cell phone, talking into it, right? Because I like to work like that. And I was like, you can't do it on your cell phone. You need to sit down in front of your computer. You need to get some black tourmaline. You need to put it on each side and behind and in front. And you need to get some crystals and you need to raise the vibration, because the things that you are speaking about are so important and there is so much dark and light. So something messed with my audio because they don't want me to talk about consciousness. They don't want me to wake people up. And I don't talk about this often, right? But on Psychic Mediumship with Victoria Bond, I'm going to go deep. This is just an introductory of what I'm doing. So this is not to protect me or to protect you. We don't need protection. We are whole and we are powerful and we are embodied. And that is what we need to focus on. But what this tourmaline does, and what this beautiful rose quartz does here, is it raises the vibration. And vibration is everything. Vibration within your aura, vibration within your house. We've got like feng shui, which I don't know much about, but the flow of your house is amazing. We have plants. We're really into our plants now because we're becoming conscious creators. We're really into our cards and our incenses and our candles. Why do you think that's happening? Because it's on trend? Or because we are conscious creators? So it's the reason why I did that, and I realized, was I've got to take responsibility and create a space to channel and bring through all the things. And I did this for the podcast. It'll be up in the next few days. I'm like, whoa, it was intense. I talked about people being possessed. I talked about people losing their heads. I talked about people that a lot of people are disappearing off the earth right now, and then walk-ins are walking in. This shit is like next level. I predicted this 3 years ago, and I'm going to be raw and real about it all. The vibration that we hold within ourselves is enough, but now it's bringing in the ritual. It's bringing in the cacao. It's bringing in the heart coherence, the meditations. Today we had on the mastermind, we had whales. And we were connecting into the whales as we were meditating. We have not done this as a human race. 100 years ago, this didn't happen. We'd go to church, and that was, how we did the rituals. But anybody else running around a fire naked, doing all that type of stuff, that was like legit weird. Woo-woo, cray-cray, hillbillies, like give all the labels you want to it. It's new age. Oh my God, yoga was new age. And now it's just who we be, but the veil is thin. And because the veil is thin, we need to keep our vibration up, because it means we can access this spiritual energetics and the beings, the light beings, and all of the entities so easy. Oh my God. I'm talking to my client today, and I said, oh, sorry, your dad just flew in. And I see spirit really differently. Obviously, I'm a medium. And her dad flew in. We're doing a spiritual business session, because that's what we do in Evolve. And literally, he flew in. And I went, there's a male here. I think it's your dad. Did he love his hair? And she's like, oh, yeah, he was really gutted when he lost his hair. He got a toupee. And I was like, so funny being a hairdresser. He's showing me his hair. And I was like, okay, it's not the guy off Pretty Woman, Richard Gere. It's George Clooney. He's saying he's like George Clooney, and she's kind of laughing away. And he came right in and he was saying, the way we were back then, I wanted my boys to be tough. And my only regret in life is I didn't give you kisses and cuddles and tell you I loved you more, because I wanted you to be ready for the world. And the world has not always been a great place. And I'm crying, she's crying. It was like, I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm crying, because I could feel all of his emotions because they weren't mine. They were his. If anyone doesn't understand the difference between energy, and this is the communication, the spiritual communication we're having, they're going to think that they're losing the plot. If you don't understand emotional mastery, you're going to think you're losing it when you're having waves. And if you're an emotional being, a lot of us are emotional beings, and we have waves. We go up and down, and we think it's depression. We think we're manic. We think we're bipolar. Schizophrenics think that they are crazy because they're hearing voices. Has anyone considered that they might be really super gifted and they don't know how to hold themselves? Can you see how we're shifting here? How it's changing? How the perspective is just shifting a tiny bit. What else is possible? What else is possible with connecting through this veil? And I explain that more on my podcast, Awaken with Victoria Bond. But to be a spiritual boss babe, it's not just the responsibility and the vibration. It's trusting. So the next part of it is trusting. I had to trust that it was my client's dad. And I knew that I could trust it. Why? Because I was prepared mentally and physically, holding myself, raising the vibration. I ask for the highest beings of the highest realms, the highest orders, the highest frequency, that are only here for the highest good of myself and my client to be a contribution. And then I entity clear. So entity clearing is huge. I do this on Magnificent Mediumship. I literally have entity cleared millions of spirits and beings. Millions. And I do that before anything else, before my coaching, before my mediumship. Because clearing is massive. Just like the rubbish clinging onto your body, you need to clear it to be a clean channel. So I'm a clean channel. So in came this girl's dad. And we're talking to him about 15 minutes. And then he was like, okay, I'll leave you to it. I'm like, thank you, mate, because we got a lot of stuff to get done. I don't put spirit on a pedestal. I don't put my clients on a pedestal. I don't even put my coach on a pedestal. I don't put anyone on a pedestal. I could see like the most famous person in the world and I wouldn't put them on a pedestal because I don't think they're anything more special than me. And I don't put myself on a pedestal. I invite people as soon as they join my vortex to take me off. I said, if you got me on a pedestal, take me off. Because you're probably going to get disappointed when you realize that I'm not going to save your life because I'm going to invite you to save your own. Don't blame me for your shit because it's your responsibility, right? This is where we take the full responsibility, and you have to trust everything you do, whether it's your coaching or your parenting or your relationships or your friendships. You've got to trust that you did the very, very best you could when you were communicating with that person. You check your ego. You check yourself before you wreck yourself. You make sure you're not diving into the pain body. Let's create drama. I'm bored. Let's create some drama. Keep feeding that cycle that we have, right? And a lot of this, I'm talking to your subconscious right now. So some of you are going to be like, oh my God, this is like crazy. I don't get it. Don't worry. Your subconscious is picking it up. Some of you are probably feeling really sleepy because it's a channel. How are you feeling? Let me know how you're feeling with what I'm saying. I am very fast and we jump quite a bit. Trusting yourself is about discernment. When I lay there in bed and I said, am I meant to do this podcast? And I had to literally, it was really hard to access. I went into my intuition and I said, is this going to create more? Is the world ready to hear this? Am I ready to share it? What else is possible with this? What would the $1 million version of me do? And I jumped out of bed and I said she would show up. Even if she got shut down. She would show up and share with the world what she knows to be true. The veil is motherfucking thin. Prepare yourself. Get yourself vibrationally, physically, and mentally healthy. Because it's the spirit, the mind, and the spiritual. Don't buy into the protection bullshit. Now, what I mean by that, because my best friend's always talking about protection, but it's like if you go, I need to put a bubble around myself because there's bad entities out there and they're going to get me. Demons, fuck, aliens, whatever. Most aliens are awesome. There is definitely some darker entity aliens as well, just like there is humans. If you do that, you're kind of like, look at me, look at me, look at me, right? So what I do is I'm just like, I am a vibrational goddess. I am of the highest frequency, and I'm not going to shrink myself to fit into anybody else's realities. And this is why I'm using crystals, because crystals have got high vibration, and I've been called to come back into ritual, to come back into myself. After this, I'll quickly go to the beach and I'll ground and I'll be in gratitude and I'll open my heart and I bring my roots in, right? Bring my roots down. If you haven't received the meditation that I put out the other day, like I do meditations like that all the time, and you can check out Victoria Bond on YouTube, and I've got tons of free meditations, tons of free entity clearings, all the things, right? So I have to trust that wherever I'm going is in the right direction. I check myself before I wreck myself. I adjust, I pivot, I shift, and I don't care what anyone tells me what I think I should do. Because unless they are already doing it, or they're ahead of me in the area that I'm going in, for instance, if it's, channeling or mediumship or whatever, business, why would you listen to somebody who hasn't been there or done that? Always play with people that are successful. Always play with people that have got a big heart. Always play with people who don't judge you, but they would like to help you. And always allow yourself to be a contribution without giving yourself away. That is your responsibility. Not to give yourself away. Because it has to be energetically congruent with everything we're doing. So I was explaining today, when one of my clients got with another client, one's a projector, one's a generator in human design, okay? And when they get together, I said to my client, it's not about you being with him and paying him money and him healing you. That is what you think it's about. But that's not what you're doing. You're coming along to him. He's a projector. You're a generator. You're giving him sacral energy, so he's got fuel to keep going, right? You're giving him wisdom in your defined centers, and he is a projector who's pretty much fully open, and he is diving in to your energy and giving you, he's giving you insights for you. He's diving in and looking at you, scanning you, and telling you how you can shift things around. It's always energy. It's never money. Of course, money just comes when you choose that you want to do something. You want to do a program, you want to have a coach, you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house. The money will come if that's what you're truly desiring. Abundance and manifestation, and I've talked about this recently as well, is about fully backing yourself energetically and fully wanting in all areas of your life. Put consciously and subconsciously. So you put up those energies to the universe, and what comes back down is exactly what you asked for vibrationally. If your subconscious is going, nah, I really love experiencing scarcity, because scarcity is, we want to experience everything as human beings. Why do you think we create from ego and create from pain body? We want to experience it all. That's why we're here. But we don't have to go fuck up our lives to do it. We just go, if I'm in scarcity, then what am I loving about this? This is your subconscious. Whatever you have is a result of wanting it, unconsciously or consciously, right? And if you don't understand what I'm saying, just drop your barriers and open your heart. Having is the evidence of wanting. Whatever you have in your life, you have received because somewhere you wanted it. No one wants to be abused. Nobody wants to be poor and to be in scarcity. So, of course, people are like, what are you talking about? But the reason why I was in scarcity, the reason why I used to fight with my husband is because it was giving me something, even though I wasn't consciously aware of it. So for you, to be a spiritual boss babe, for you to receive the things that you're truly desiring, it means that you have to do the work. It means that when the shadows come up and these feelings come up and the mindset of like, am I good enough? Am I not? When the ego comes in, when the judgment of yourself comes in, you need to look at that and sit with it and love it and go, what do you need from me? I can see you. What do you require from me? It's called shadow work. So then you can transmute it, because if you put light on a shadow, guess what happens? The shadow usually goes smaller or disappears, or you realize it was just a mouse making a big shadow, right? Do you really think that mindset is just one way and it's what you're thinking? It's not. People that are spiritual boss babes, that are creating wealth and health and joy and contribution and love, they are always working on their mind to go, if I don't think I can have it, then what do I feel is holding me back from having it? And if you're looking externally, then you are looking in the wrong place, because it's got to do within here. Having is the evidence of wanting, right? You must trust, and I'm going to talk a little bit quickly about how that we've got lag time. So one of my clients, of course, she is amazing, and she's putting these programs out, right? And she's very fast. She's a manifest generator. She's super, super fast. And she's like, why isn't my stuff selling? So we look at the scarcity of like, what do you love about being in scarcity, right? So this is the shadow. And she's just like, oh my God. Because being in the question helps you to have the awareness. We want to get out of judgment and into awareness, because we can shift our perspective when we have the awareness. And she said, I don't want to charge people because I feel bad that they don't have money and I do. So have you ever not wanted to charge somebody because you feel like you have more money than them? Or maybe you want to shout them dinner because you know that you make more money than them and you feel a little bit guilty. Where are we functioning from this judgment of what someone else can afford? And this is where she was functioning from. And then she was like, oh my God, I don't want them to pay me because I don't want to take their money, because I feel like I'm taking it from their pocket, taking it from their mouths. Okay, it doesn't work that way, because if somebody wants to do something, the money shows up. They choose it first and then the money comes. It always does. Always does. So everything is the opposite of what you think it is, of what it appears to be. You've got to think about this. If it's not working for you, why isn't it working? Is it the lag time because the 3D is catching up to what you put out to the universe, and then the universe will provide and everything is catching up? Or is it because of your perspective on how you think it should show up? Yeah, this is consciousness for you people. This is pushing every single button within your body to wake you up. To be a spiritual boss babe is not about the strategy. It is not about the magic key. And this is why I created Magnificent Mediumship. Because Magnificent Mediumship is all about you being in abundance and you being able to put your hand through that veil and literally talk to spirit like I did today so easily, and then go, bye, thank you, thanks for coming. Okay, let's get back to the business. Because that's our reality. Where some people go, oh my God, can we just keep talking to spirit? And I'm like, yeah, but you've got to be 3D too. And then you've got to do the 4D, because the 4D is the subconscious, where the feelings are coming up, the shadows are coming up, right? So calm and relax. I'm so glad you love this. Yes, aliens are amazing. That's another subject. What else is possible with you, with me? We've got so much resilience. We get to show up just today. Just show up today. Just today. Tomorrow's going to be another day. But we sit around and we distract. We forget that we have discernment. We go to judgment, and we also are too afraid to be in awareness. We're too scared to dive into each other's auras because we think that we're invading people's spaces, and what we're not realizing is we're always in each other's spaces because we're in each other's auras. It is so funny. And when we start hearing things like what I'm saying to you, it starts waking you up and your brain starts going, well, that makes actual sense. this world is pretty insane because it's a collective energy that we're creating. So we clean up our own mess, everyone's cleaning up their own mess, and then we have a clean collective energy around us, and then we're all Adam and Eve living, bartering or whatever it's calling, like, I don't know, what's that thing when you like swap tomatoes for onions? Not bartering. We're all sharing everything, and that's what we should be doing, is living together. But also at the same time, it's like you get to create how you want to create. How much money do you want? I want millions of dollars because I know that money is a byproduct of showing up, because it's an energy. And I know if I'm making millions of dollars, I'm reaching billions of people. I know that I'm reaching billions of people now, because if you can hear something in your aura and you walk down the street, your aura is going to be like touching other people's auras and waking them all up. And this is how we spread light. If you're walking around and you're like, it's not happening for me, I'm in a shitty mood and my kids are a pain in the ass and I didn't make any sales, and you're walking around that aura, people are going to pick up on that as well. It's a collective energy, okay? So we're not really going to get time to go into channeling today, but I did talk about this a lot on the podcast, which will be up in a few days. Channeling, we must understand that we are channels. We channel ourselves, we channel other beings, we channel spirit, and we must be discerning about what is coming through. So we just must understand that when negativity and thoughts are coming through and there's words like you're useless, you're not good enough, you're dumb, if you're speaking in third person, you may want to consider that that's an entity. And funny story, I was walking down the beach the other day discussing, I was like, you can go coach yourself, Victoria. Great, you've got an hour to walk on the beach. And I was going, okay, Victoria, so what are you going to do? And I was talking in third person the whole way. And afterwards I went, well, we sorted out the business. And I was like, I'm not sure if this entity is a walk-in or if you've just come along to help me for the beach walk. I'm so grateful for you. Can you please leave now? Because I just want to function from myself so I don't get confused with your thoughts and your feelings. I just want to function from me. And I was like, thanks so much. And I was like, I just coached myself, but I think it was a spirit coaching me, right? Or maybe it's someone I've been carrying around. I don't know, because we're all energy. We are in a human suit. We're not just human. We're in a human suit, but we're also a being which is much bigger than the body, much bigger. And I suppose the aura is kind of like, like a hedgehog or a cat with fur, like with like the tentacles, whatever the whiskers. It's like they're like a sensor. It's our radar, It's so funny. It's just the whole thing is kind of funny, really, when I think about it. And I found this since I was a little girl. I used to say to people, do you think it's really weird we're in bodies? And they'd go, no. They'd be like, no, it's not weird. And I'd be like, I think it's weird. Okay, so the 3, the 4, and the 5D, I'm going to explain this very briefly because I've gone over time. But the 3D is what we're seeing, right? So 2D is kind of like a piece of paper, like that's 2D, right? 3D is, and you see that because you see 3D photos, and they all of a sudden become kind of, real, like solid looking, I suppose. So 3D is being the mum and being like doing all this human stuff the way you've been brought up. But what we've realized is we are starting to shift into a more 5D race. And the 5D race, and there's many races, there's many collective races, and I work with many of them with my light language and my channeling. And, but yeah, we're a little bit slow when it comes to the technology here in the world, on planet Earth, because their technology, a lot of them is just so next level. It's insane, and many of them don't even speak. And what I mean by technology is it's like there's a telepathic, but then there's also like speaking in different ways, and a lot of them don't have bodies, and there's just so much. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. So the 4D is more where the shadows are, and this is what I'm saying. If you want to put your desires up to the universe, I want money, and you're like, why isn't the money coming? I seem to be getting broker and broker and broker. That is because somewhere you have a shadow that is desiring to experience. Like shadows can be put into 2 categories. Like it could be like something you've experienced, which is a mistaken belief or a wounding that needs to be cleaned up, or the shadow could be literally like, but I like being broke. I like having an excuse not to go out for dinner because I like to stay at home. I love being in scarcity and worrying about how I'm going to pay for the bills. Like it's called a kink, right? There's a book called Existential Kink, really, really good. So to get into the 5D, which is where, holy shit, I just got paid 50K, epic, it just came with me, and I'm so happy, I'm joyful, like everything is just, I'm in love, everything is just honky-dory, and time just seems to just keep multiplying on me. To be in that, we can't be in that all the time because it's not stable, but to be there is to pretty much like ascend, to that 5D, which is all about, so I'm just getting distracted by the comments here. It is all about understanding thyself and holding thyself. If you keep bypassing the shadows, and you want to be 5D, you start losing your head, you start losing your mind, it gets really weird and confusing and painful when you don't want to be in the 3D. To have harmony between the 3, 4, and 5 is to actually hold yourself. And this is totally what Spirit wants me to bring through now. So 3 is living, being present in the now. It's very, very important. It is the most important thing. That's why you're here having a human experience. The 4D is actually working with the subconscious mind and also the woundings, possibly the woundings of the past lives and the intergenerational stuff as well. And the 5D is like this heart coherence, which is like pure love. And that is where we're going. This is where we manifest fast without time. We don't work time for money. Like I'm working doing this for nothing. But of course I'm going to get paid heaps. Because I don't work in a normal way, right? I don't work in a normal way. I get paid for being me, and I follow my heart and what I want to do and what I'm choosing to do. It's not the strategy. It is literally, I'm choosing to be here because it's going to create a ripple effect of change in the world. So therefore the byproduct is getting paid in the money. So that's very 5D. But then I will go be 3D afterwards. And then sometimes I do 4D because I like to be in the 5D, and the more I do the 4D when it comes up to clean it up, the longer I can stay in the 5D. That is my expression of the 3, 4, and 5. I'm not a book, like a textbook person. I'm an experimental person. Like I'm a person who lives it and then I share it. So I hope that makes sense for you. Okay, so being spiritual, channeling, intuition, trust. What is responsibility? What is your responsibility? And what is not your responsibility? That is your homework. What is your responsibility and what is not your responsibility, which is even bigger than, because what your responsibility is very small. It's just about you doing the actual work that you need to do, listening to your intuition and then trusting yourself fully. Not your responsibility is your friends, even your children. Like feed them, clothe them, put them to bed, love them, but what they do in life is not your responsibility. They're beings, right? Your responsibility is not to fix your husband. It's not to fix your friends. It's not to fix the world. It's not to save the world. Your responsibility is to do you, clean up your own rubbish, so then you don't have such an impact on the collective with your own shadows. You're cleaning up karma as you go. And if we all did this, the karma would be cleaned up and we would be heaven, right? So I hope that makes sense. I'm so glad that made sense. I'm so grateful for you guys. I would love for you to share my page if you haven't done so already. You can just share this in your messenger to those who you think would love it, or you can share it on your page and say, hey, go check this out if you want to. Otherwise, there's my podcast, which is Awaken with Victoria Bond on Spotify, completely free. I've been told for the last couple of days, people have been binging that and just like downloading heaps of information because their channels are always relevant, which is really, really cool. And of course, I've got a YouTube channel coming up and Magnificent Mediumship starting on the 1st of July. And I'm so excited for tomorrow because it's the 3rd day. So we have just hit an hour, my friends, pretty much. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I'd love to hear from you. Put in the chat box what your biggest takeaway from this is. And you know what? Share whatever you learn with other people. Because when we repeat something, when we write it down, when we do this repetition, it actually sinks in. And this is why I love speaking about what the guides tell me and what I intuitively download, because when I speak it out, I'm like, oh, wow, it really resonates. And then we can have this ripple effect of change. Sending so, so much love to you guys. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And I will catch you later. Bye.